But this right here, this is just, to me, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. Hey, what's up, guys? So today I want to talk to you guys about something serious. All right, some people might not see the seriousness in this at the moment because it might not be affecting you at the current moment. But personally, I foresee that 30, 40, 50 years down the road, if left unchecked, we're going to run into a serious problem. And what I'm talking about is these corporations, these mega companies, for example, that are dipping into the single family home market, this is where average people like you and myself are out trying to buy a home for us to live in, but we're being outbid to these big companies that are purchasing a lot of these single family homes at the moment. So I want to go ahead, and I just don't want to sit here and ramble, but I want to show you some stuff that I've been coming across online so that way you can see that I'm talking about. All right, so let's just go ahead, and I'm gonna take you to the computer right now so we can continue the rest. So this is what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing here is that we have articles like these that come on out that talks about fractional real estate. They call it fractional real estate. This is where you invest into a fund, and that fund invests into individual companies, and these companies go ahead and purchase single family homes, and in return you're promised a so-called fraction of that real estate. So they're saying, hey, if you can no longer afford, as it talks about here, because the median price of a previously owned home in April was around $391,000. So if you can't afford to be able to buy a home around that price range because it's gotten ridiculously expensive so far in your area, then maybe you could possibly do fractional real estate. This is how it's being pitched to you. But this right here, this is just, to me, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. All right, so it's pitching to you. They're saying that people like Jeff Bezos are involved into investing into this. They've raised $25 million and etc. But the reality is, when it comes to you investing into these type of companies and these companies growing more and more, now these companies are turning into your competitor. When it's time for you to buy a house, or when it's time for your kids to buy a house or your grandkids to buy a house, they are going to be competing against these companies that you see on here. So here they just mentioned three of them. They got Fintor, Fractional, and Pacaso as far as for additional options. I want to show you here some other ones. So here on this side we have three more of these type of companies that are popping up. Here we have Invitation Homes, American Homes, and Tricon Residential. These three companies combined have around 168,000 properties alone. Just these three companies alone. So you know that there's more companies out there besides these three companies, because here's just three of them. On this other article, it mentions three more, and it's just going to continue growing and growing. So to me, the problem that I foresee here is that these companies are going to continue growing and buying houses left and right and making it more and more expensive for the average person to live in. So these companies, if left unchecked, they're going to continue to grow, and they're only going to make stuff more and more expensive for us to be able to afford to live in. Me personally, I say I'm thankful that I bought my house when I bought my house, multiple years ago, because right now it is up almost 3 times the value of what I paid for. It's ridiculous. It's just gone up in a ridiculous, alarming rate. It's going to get to the point that for our kids, we're going to have to spend around, or should I say they are going to have to spend around $1 million just to be able to buy a basic 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. It is ridiculous. And I understand that currently right now, with interest rates going up, the average investor, which is just a regular person, they are not buying as many houses as what they used to. So currently the prices are starting to stabilize a little bit more, but these companies aren't really on the same standard. They're not in the same boat as the average person like you and I are. These companies, they have their own fundings going on. They have additional loans that they have access to that are much lower than the average mortgage rate. So they are still able to get funding, and they are still able to grow. These individual companies that fall under, there's an investment funds that are called Reits, and they are single family rental Reits. So this is where you're able to invest into one particular fund, and as we mentioned earlier, that fund is going to go ahead and invest into these other companies, and these other companies are going to go ahead and purchase these other houses, and the profits that they get from the rentals from these other houses, they're going to go ahead and redistribute some of those and help, grow the companies to acquire even more. So Tricon Residential, out of the ones that I showed you earlier, for example, Tricon's Residential, as of 2022, their current goal is that they put out for the investors is that they want to acquire 800 homes per month. That is in 2022, their current goal. By 2023, 24, 25, that goal is going to go up to 900, 1,000, and etc. And it's going to keep growing. That's just one company, one alone. This is going to continue growing. Some people are not concerned because they're saying,
oh, Jose, it's only about 2% of the houses that are currently out on the market.
If left unchecked, that 2% is going to grow to 4, 6, 8. It's going to continue growing to the point that these companies are going to own half the houses in America within a couple of decades. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and save this video, look it up 20, 30 years down the road and use it as a reference. And I guarantee you that these companies are no longer within that small 2% percentile that they're talking about. All right, personally, I don't think that us individual citizens should be having to compete against mega corporations when it comes to trying to find a house where we want to live in and where we want to raise our family. They are buying the houses, and then now, since we are not able to buy into the house because the price has gone up a ridiculous amount, they are trying to say, oh, hey, now you could go ahead and just rent it from us. But by the way, I'm going to continue raising the rent on you every single year. That's one thing that I'm not going to tell you. Tricon Residential in Jacksonville, they just raised the rent to some of their residents by $400. There's a 40% increase for that individual couple that's on there. It's a ridiculous amount. Personally, as far as like a fix, I think that people that want to live into a house as their primary residence should get first dibs on a house when it comes to first bidding, when it comes to selling it. So let's say, for example, a house goes on the market. People that are interested in living it as their primary residence should be the first ones that should be able to buy into. If after, let's say, for example, 60, 90 days go by and that house is still in the market because people haven't purchased them for individual housing, then, possibly from there, investors can come on in and fix up the property because maybe the property requires a lot of repairs and individual people don't want to go through those repairs. So if that's the case, as the house has been on the market for an extended period of time, then that's when I would say, yeah, sure, whatever. It's okay for it'd be legal at that time for these companies or investors to come on in and buy the house. But I don't know, man. You tell me, what do you think? What is your opinion on it? I just personally don't think that we should be competing against mega corporations when it comes to trying to find a place to live. I've seen so many people getting relocated because these big corporations are coming in and buying up the houses and raising the rents by a ridiculous amount to the point that they're just not able to continue to afford where they live. So let me know your thoughts. I know this is a completely different style of video from what I'm used to doing. Some might think it's a rant, but to me, I honestly foresee a potential problem coming in the future, which is not necessarily going to affect maybe some of you like myself, whatever. I already bought a house. I have my house, and it's not going to affect me, but it could potentially affect my kids and my grandkids later on in the future. So let me know your thoughts. So what do you think? Do you think it's okay that these companies should continue to grow at the way that they are growing? Should they just be able to buy the houses and then in return go ahead and rent it out, to people that are around? Or do you think, like I was saying, that maybe we as individual buyers should be able to have first dibs on buying a house that we want to live in ourselves and raise our family? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'll be releasing more information, finance related information on this channel, and love you guys. Y'all take care.